Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're checking out another rotation-proof deck, this time a white, blue and green or Bant colored landfall deck. And unlike the hyper-aggressive mono-green landfall deck with Tifa and Mossborn Hydra, which admittedly can be a bit more explosive and win the game a lot faster, this one is a bit more resilient against removal and can win some longer games as well. And in fact, a lot of the payoff cards that we are building around are cards from the Foundations set, which will be around till 2030, so we could still be playing with a lot of the same cards in 4 or 5 years from now. And one of those cards is Tatyova, the main reason we're dipping into blue, a 5-mana 3/3 with a landfall, gaining us 1 life and drawing us a card. And this can get out of hand pretty quickly when we combine it with fetch lands or other effects that put additional lands into play. And we're also playing with a Traveling Chocobo from Final Fantasy, so this one will also be around till 2028 at least, so we can play with it for a long time. A 3/2 that lets us look at the top card of our library at any time, can play lands and cast bird spells from the top of our library, so it can play additional copies of itself, but also maybe our Sans Chocobo, a 1-mana bird with landfall giving it an additional +1/+1 counter, can also grow into a significant threat pretty quickly in this deck. And then the Traveling Chocobo, besides letting us play lands and birds, also lets us trigger landfall abilities twice, so that's an incredibly powerful effect when you combine it with Tatyova, now drawing 2 cards per land. And there's Felidar Retreat, another card from the Foundation set, and this one can make 2/2 cat beast tokens with every land entering, or we can give the team a +1/+1 counter and give them a vigilance until end of turn, so we can first build up a wide board of 2/2 tokens and then eventually start pumping them up with additional +1 counters, and getting 2 landfall triggers each time with a Traveling Chocobo can also get out of hand very quickly. And then topping off our curve, we've got another landfall card, the Rampaging Baloths, making 4/4 beast tokens with every landfall trigger on a 6/6 trampler, so that can also be very fun once we get it going. And then ways to put additional lands in play include at 2 mana Glimpse the Core, just fetching up a forest, simple enough. Then we can also cast a Lumbering World Wagon, perhaps as early as turn 2, thanks to a turn 1 Llanowar Elves making a green mana, also makes its way into the deck of course. And then with a World Wagon we get to search up a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and that's whenever the World Wagon enters or attacks. Has a crew cost of 4, so it is pretty steep, but if we make enough 2/2 tokens we can still make that work. And then the World Wagon also grows with a number of lands in play, so it can also be very powerful. And then the Green Overlord, this one will rotate maybe a little bit sooner than some of the other cards, since it's from Duskmourn, which is gonna rotate out 2027, but still have many years to play with it. And then when we impend or cast it, it will make this Everywhere token that's also a land, so it will also trigger a landfall for us. And unlike with World Wagon, where we may run out of basic lands in the deck, that's not a problem with Overlord. And then Overlord's also quite good at crewing the World Wagon if we do cast it for 5 mana. And then last but not least, we also have 2 copies of Craterhoof Behemoth. In case the board does stall out somehow and the retreat's not good enough, we can always go over the top with Craterhoof Behemoth. And then the mana base gets to play with Fabled Passage, great way to trigger a landfall twice, have plenty of basics in the deck anyways, since we need to have those for the World Wagon, and then also for Glimpse the Core we need to have plenty of forests, so we have 8 forests, 1 island, 1 plains. And then the Verge lands also play well with all of these basics. They enter untapped, the Hushwood Verge makes green initially, the Willow Rush makes blue, so this one's maybe not quite as good, but still very useful for casting Tatyova. And finally 2 copies of Lush Portico, does enter tapped, but does let us surveil one, can maybe even trigger the ability multiple times with a Traveling Chocobo in play, so that's another minor synergy. In some of the games you might see me play with Razorverge Thicket, which does rotate out, but I forgot since some of the fast lands rotate, others do not, but I did end up just replacing it with 2 Lush Porticos, so no harm, no foul. So yeah, let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the play. Hand's a little slow to get going, but being on the play helps. And then we have some powerful synergies if we can get to them. Portico probably should keep the plains, or we can dig for something that ramps sooner, but that seems greedy, because I do need the extra lands as well. And then turn 3 Overlord. Opponent on the green ramp deck, it seems. Alright, so at least we're not gonna get aggroed out. And our late game's quite powerful as well. But we'll have to deal with Ugin and some other powerful curve toppers. But yeah, Craterhoof can just end the game on the spot if we can make some tokens. So if I play Tatyova now, it shouldn't be in danger of dying, so that could be safe. And then next turn I can play Traveling Chocobo into Fabled Passage. If I wasn't familiar with the matchup, I would be hesitant to run out Tatyova without getting immediate value, but that's the advantage of having played the deck myself. So opponent does keep on ramping with Archive and UFO. So next turn they can certainly get rid of my Tatyova, but we'll try and get some value in the meantime. Chocobo Elves on top. So with Passage I'll draw into it, and I don't think I need to sacrifice to shuffle. I'm happy drawing the Elves, since it's good for setting up Craterhoof. Okay, another Fabled Passage is also useful. And then a backup Tatyova I can maybe keep, although, yeah, I guess we don't really need it. I can just shuffle here, see what else we draw, maybe a 3-drop that's better than the Elves. And then take it from there. Alright, another Traveling Chocobo could be fun. And a World Wagon is probably even better, since we get the value of Tatyova right now. And then I didn't need to draw the other Craterhoof, so I'm fine shuffling it away. Alright, so we drew 6 cards of Tatyova this turn. And no point in attacking. And then discard a land. Okay. So how much mana do we have next turn? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I could cast a Craterhoof Behemoth, but without any creatures in play it's probably not that exciting. So our opponent does have Ugin, but no follow-up it seems. Alright, land on top. So yeah, Craterhoof is not quite lethal, even though we can play it Crew World Wagon in response to the trigger. How does that play out? Yeah, that's still not going to be enough with 3 creatures. This goes up to 11 power, this 6 power. So yeah, it's not quite enough. So then is this Rampaging Baloths plus fetch land turn? 3, 4, 5, 6. Won't quite be able to play another Chocobo, but I also don't have any other landfall cards that can benefit from the Chocobo at the moment. So yeah, I think Baloths plus fetch land is reasonable. Landfall twice. Okay, maybe first Crew World Wagon attack, and then see if we want to shuffle with Fabled Passage, or if we should wait. Still a small chance our opponent can Heritage Reclamation the World Wagon to destroy it. So then this turn we should be able to make 6 Beast tokens. 4 from Fabled Passage, and then 2 more from World Wagon attacking. And then I can still play 2 Elves out, so that should set up our Craterhoof nicely. Baloth triggers Resolve. Can also crew with a token, I suppose. Both at Ugin. And get a land. Trigger Baloths again. And then our opponent may have timed out here. So Ugin dies. They could have saved it otherwise. And then, yeah, I guess we keep going. Play 2 Elves out, not afraid of a sweeper. So should be able to just go all in. So yeah, our opponent seems to have disconnected. Maybe they didn't like the Baloths with the Chocobo, or maybe their internet just cut out. Either way, even if they had another Ugin, or even the Sire of 7 Deaths, we should easily be able to overpower with Craterhoof next turn. So yeah, Traveling Chocobo, still great even without your deck being all birds. Still great with other landfall. Alright, opponent seems to be back, passes the turn. And then, yeah, we'll just keep it simple. I guess technically I should play the land out to make more beasts so we have more creatures for Craterhoof. And then if we want to play optimally, I could do the trick where we crew the World Wagon in response to the Behemoth trigger. Technically they could have cast some weird board wipe by filtering mana with the pylons. So that's how you can catch me off guard. Alright, and our opponent explodes, so sadly didn't get to show you the Craterhoof interaction, but we can quickly do the math here out of curiosity. So we get 2 more beasts, so how many creatures total? That's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 with a World Wagon. So yeah, play Craterhoof, crew World Wagon, all my creatures get +15, and trample. And then, yeah, that should be well over 100 damage. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a hand that's missing white mana for Felidar Retreat. Can ramp a bunch, but currently into nothing. This one's tough. Do have a lot of lands we can draw to fix our colors or other ramp spells. And it's not a bad start, so maybe it's good enough. I'm fine if the elves die. And now a Chocobo is a nice pickup. Even if it doesn't solve our colored mana problem. At least gives the opponent something to worry about. Tatyova we're also unable to cast. So may as well play around No More Lies by playing a land first. And yeah, it does seem like they might have the counterspell in hand. Well, we can play around it, since we can't do anything else at the moment. Opponent's gonna stock up. So this would be a good window to resolve one of our curve toppers, although we wouldn't be able to enable a landfall right away. So best case scenario, draw like the green Overlord. Well, gotta call your shots. Still gonna cast it, even though they might wipe the board next turn. And then we have the opportunity to resolve another impactful spell. So Land Day of Judgment is their best case scenario. Alright, they don't seem to have it. It's going to be a Get Lost on the Overlord, so their opponent wants to keep up their counterspell, is what I can take from that. So we have 6, 7 mana, so I can play Retreat, still have 3 mana to pay for No More Lies. And then I can still go exploring to maybe hit a land for landfall. And otherwise I will pay. So Retreat resolves, attack for 5. Now if they Day of Judgment, we still have a decent leftover. Alright, they have a lockdown instead, also quite effective. But of course it would not have dealt with the Overlords last turn. Now Tatyova versus Chocobo. I can resolve Tatyova, but I wouldn't get any value, whereas Chocobo I can maybe play Line of the Top. And I would make 2 tokens with a Retreat. So this seems worth it. Alright, and then may as well go 2 tokens. Alright, let's see how they get out of this mess. A River Regent can bounce 2 things. Pretty much has to go for 2 creatures here, otherwise they're dead. Chocobo and a token. And now a little bit short of going Tatyova plus World Wagon, but Chocobo into World Wagon looks good enough. Don't need another Tatyova. Can maybe still hit a land on the top of the deck. Well, this game would have looked a lot different if we didn't hit that Overlord. But yeah, I'll take it. So Baloths on top. Pass a turn. Now World Wagon's another threat that they can't easily sweep up unless they have Ultima to blow up artifacts as well as creatures. So we're attacking them from a lot of different angles, which is exactly where you want to be against control. But yeah, if we didn't have that early pressure, maybe they're not forced to tap out, they can keep up a counterspell for retreat, and then once again this game looks a lot different, because then their board wipes can maybe clear everything out. So they seem quite dead, but still want to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's, as they say. So I can play Chocobo. Play another one. Another Baloths on top. So I guess we go Tatyova, Crew World Wagon attack. Worst case scenario is they have, like, bounce all attacking creatures back to hand. But then we'll still have triggered landfall a bunch. So Crew World Wagon does mean I lose an attacker. If I attack with everything as is, they could have 2 spot removal spells, and then I guess they survive, but I don't mind it if the game goes 1 extra turn. But yeah, I could see the benefit of just attacking without crewing. So they let us attack and get a land. Tatyova draws 2 cards, retreats. May as well go for +1 counters now, since if there's a board wipe and they survive this turn, it doesn't matter if I have more tokens. Alright, what do you have? 3 steps, copy the regents. Nice. So that can bounce 2 tokens. And then they have 2 blockers, so they survive, but they do have to trade for the World Wagon at least. Alright, that was a sweet play. And then we're only taking 6 on the way back, so we're not in danger. Surprised they kept the token over the original. Don't know if they have a way to get it back from the graveyard. And we technically could have had a bounce spell for the token. Opponent does have Ultima, so yeah, that does wipe our board. But yeah, I think we'll manage. So Craterhoof, if it resolves, would be lethal. Not a guarantee, since their opponent does have 3 mana up. So then maybe it's Baloths, can pay for no more lies, and then I can still impend the Overlord at the very least. So yeah, our opponent's definitely making a game out of it. So I can just pay. So Craterhoof would not have worked. Elspeth probably needs to just destroy the Baloths here, since it just tramples over their 1/1s. And opponent taps out for stock up, so now Craterhoof will get them. But yeah, if they had another counterspell left, maybe this game can get out of hand with Elspeth taking over. But yeah, unfortunately for our opponents, that's not going to happen. Craterhoof attacking by his lonesome. Still good enough here. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Hand seems functional, maybe lacking some ramp, but double Chocobo is worth a try. The World Wagon could be excellent. And another Chocobo, so triple 1-drop start against a green deck. So hopefully there won't be any board wipes in our future. Still mono green. There's Tifa, so opponent's gonna maybe combo off next turn and present lethal. That's very much possible. And they likely have a protection spell in hand, which is why they didn't play Tifa on turn 2. But yeah, at least we get to grow the Chocobos. So what's the worst case scenario here? Opponent's got a giant growth. Yeah, I guess I'll play it safe here, plus keeping extra blockers back makes it less likely that we die next turn. Opponent's got the Traveling Chocobo as well. Land of the top. And Tifa's staying back for now. Alright, for now I get to play a Felidar Retreat. Play my 4th Chocobo out. And could go for counters and vigilance. So those resolve first. I can crew the World Wagon with a 4-power Chocobo. So the World Wagon gains vigilance as well. And then now I should be fine to attack all out. Get another land, pump the team again. Don't think we care about making 2/2 tokens. So this is threatening lethal. Opponent might have an indestructible trick, they don't. So they fall to 6. Gotta hope we have enough toughness here to survive a combo with Tifa. It's not a guarantee if fetch lands are involved. Royal treatment for starters. Do they have a Titanic growth as well, perhaps? Snakeskin Veil, so plenty of 1-mana protection spells. Now play a land, go up to 6. And Druids can trigger landfall twice. So 12, 24. So we're not dead. Yeah, this could have been lethal if Titanic Growth was involved. But our opponent knows that they're dead on the way back. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand's a little sus with double Behemoth. Probably can't keep it. This is better. Chocobo into Glimpse, into another Chocobo. Facing a black enchantment deck, maybe some sort of Yuna deck. Chart, of course, discards Zetalpa, so it's just Reanimator then. Okay, so in that case, we just want to present our own threats as quickly as possible. Could play the retreat next turn, even though we're not going to generate any tokens. Just so I'm more likely to play the Chocobo and get value out of it. And a Bitter Triumph also doubles up as a discard outlet. Could go Traveling plus Tapped Thicket, if we don't find a land on the top of our deck. Yeah, that is reasonable, gives me more opportunities to get value off the Chocobo. If we find another 1-mana bird, we could still play it. Alright. Tatiova coming up next. So then I do need to get the Verge in play. Opponent casts an Oculus, I see. So that's part of their plan. Okay, another land on top. So I don't mind going Felidar Retreat. Play the land of the top. Although then I wouldn't be able to draw off Tatiova next turn. Which is maybe what I prefer. Just play the Verge and then next turn with a Chocobo I can trigger Tatiova twice. Seems a little bit better. I basically give up on 1 card draw to draw 2. That's how we can look at it. And then for now we're making tokens, so that triggers twice. Yeah, Traveling Chocobo is not long for the world. So Tatiova's only gonna get to trigger once this turn. But then we're also setting up the Rampaging Baloths. And then I may as well get counters if I want to attack. although it would still be a trade. Plus they could have a face-down Oculus for all we know. So I guess I'll still go wide, and then we want to get 4/4 tokens in order to attack. Still just hitting us with Oculus. We also see Scavengers, opponents prepared for opposing graveyard decks. Play Baloths. Play land. And then now we could consider +1 counters. First get the 4/4 token, of course. And I can still play Chocobo. Do I attack? They might trade for Tatyova, although now they're more likely to have another Oculus hidden since they declined the Scavengers, so there's a decent chance that one of these face-down cards is a creature. So I think we chill. And then next turn, set up a devastating attack, hoping it's enough. But it's a close call. Helping hand back the Scavengers. Exiles the Chocobo. At least it doesn't have any abilities. Okay. So now I need to get in there. At least with Vigilance we'll still have creatures back. And the Overlord helps. So play land. Trigger everything. Find another retreat. Yeah, I could play that and then still impend the Overlord. Opponent negates, so that's what they were holding on to. Alright, in the red zone. And then, yeah, hope they can't hit me for 10 in the air next turn. But looks like we have just enough for lethal. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Hand is a little slow to get going, but the synergies are there. And yeah, I don't have to play Fabled Passage right now, so I'm not going to. Opponent blue-reds. Eidetic Memory points towards the VV Cauldron deck. So that's a pretty scary deck when it goes off. So now I can either Chocobo or Glimpse. If I Glimpse, next turn I can maybe play 2 Chocobos out. Yeah, that's worth a shot. So I can go Sass Chocobo, fetch land, traveling. So we don't get double landfall triggers yet, but at least we grow the Chocobo initially. And opponent's hitting us for 5 already. World Wagon also an option. Go Sass Chocobo, fetch lands, World Wagon. I kind of prefer that, because then the traveling Chocobo is not exposed to removal yet. Can't quite crew the World Wagon yet, but next turn we should be able to. Now fear of missing out. Discards a Cauldron, so they must have another one in hand already, so they're just missing VV. For now I'm taking 6, so that's starting to hurt. Okay, so Tatyova with a fetch land, I think, is the play now. Want to start gaining some life back. Can keep the Sass Chocobo on defense, or we can crew World Wagon attack and get more aggressive. Getting somewhat close to casting a Crater Hoof as well. But yeah, we could also just die out of nowhere to the Vampire, sacrificing a large creature. So the life gain is pretty useful. Find another Crater Hoof. Best case scenario, draw another 1-drop we can cast. Not quite. So if I crew World Wagon, I do get to draw again off Tatyova. Problem is also they have Delirium enabled. So I probably have to pass. Hope they can draw any cards to grow Terza even more, so I can actually trade for the World Wagon. And go from there. Could always double block it with Tatyova and World Wagon. And they have another Terza, so that one goes away to the legendary rule, but that does mean 2 more counters of Eidetic Memory. Could still double block, technically, and trade World Wagon and Tatyova. So opponent does not get in with a Fear. Terza triggers, a Braid they currently cannot cast. I will lose both. But at least we're not dead, so that helps. Alright, so now we get to untap 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So start with Traveling Chocobo, and I'm not gonna need blue mana. Might actually want to tap the plains as well. Overlord on top. So can shuffle that away before I play my line for turn. Although I guess I could have gotten punished by a 2 damage burn spell on Traveling Chocobo. Play land. And then we still have Elves as a chump blocker. Next turn I can Crater Hoof. So I don't think I need to take risks by attacking with Sass Chocobo. And then I can just play defense. And next turn try and go for lethal. And they have another Fear. They had the Thrill Seeker. So yeah, if they drew that one maybe a little bit sooner, we could have died. Second memory, that's okay. So we have decent blocks, opponent forced to pass. And then Crater Hoof seems like the straightforward play. 5, 6, 7, 8. Can't quite play a World Wagon beforehand. But this should do it. Alright, close one here against the VV Cauldron, but they never really got to combo off. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. Hand seems functional. Facing green-white could be an aggro deck. Armadillo is an aura deck. And yeah, our deck doesn't have removals, so they can just keep piling enchantments onto one creature, and we may not be able to beat it. Unless we go incredibly big with our own synergies. But yeah, the main card we're worried about is something like a Sheltered by Ghosts. Armadillo already swinging in for 4. So it's not going to be easy. I get to Glimpse. Next turn, World Wagon. Yeah, I just need to start making 4/4 beasts as soon as possible. But I may be dead before we get to that point, and Calyx on curve is perfect. Since I get to copy their aura. With Armadillo hitting us. Calyx is not going to be around for much longer. Audacity also rotates out, so it's the last hurrah for the aura deck. Drew a Llanowar Elves, so probably going Elves plus a World Wagon. But we're probably facing lethal next turn already. Opponent's got 2 5-power Tramplers. Best case scenario next turn, play Baloths, play a land, I can crew World Wagon attack, so we essentially end up with 2 4/4 beast tokens. But that's not going to be enough here. Our opponent was just off to a quick start. And Ethereal Armor, a nice leftover. Alright, so we're super dead here. GG's, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand has potential, but it does rely on the curve of land or elves into World Wagon to get our mana sorted. So if the elves dies, our plan may fall apart. But World Wagon would be able to get our white mana, which sets up the retreat. Backup elves is still somewhat helpful. But at this point we just want to draw lanes. Opponent black-red, maybe a Reanimator. And yeah, Harvester of Misery takes out elves. Alright, at least we'll be able to play the World Wagon next turn regardless. Another Harvester. Also have to watch out if they reanimate Harvester, because that can maybe sweep up all the 2/2 retreat tokens. So we want to make sure to put some +1 counters on them as well. Alright, so 2 removal spells take care of our 2 elves, but at least we're still enacting our plan. Fear of missing out can discard and draw. Discards a Carnosaur. And this turn we get to play Chocobo into World Wagon. Keep the lands flowing. And then next turn with Tatyova we can maybe crew a World Wagon, but nope, there is a 3rd Harvester. And a 3rd retreat. Wow, this is awkward. So I can play Tatyova, but not yet crew the World Wagon. So then I'm maybe better off going for retreat. If they have another Carnosaur to deal 3 damage, I don't want to lose Tatyova without it drawing any cards. Alright, so even if they have removal, they can't use it right now. So good turn for Overlord, can maybe set up Delirium. And yeah, they found some scary ones here with Arden especially. And the Faithful can maybe reanimate the next turn. Opponent probably could have tapped their mana a bit better to leave black available, so the auto-tapper not really helping out. And yeah, our top deck's also not being very kind to us. So I probably have to play the Chocobo, hope there's a land on top. And then I can keep going. Otherwise, we're gonna be kind of stuck here. Alright, fetch land is the best kind of land. So make a pair of beasts. Those can help crew the World Wagon as well. So I'll fetch again, even though drawing a forest would have been fine. And can actually still play a Chocobo now. So I can go for more 2/2 tokens. Crew 2 World Wagons. Probably fine to tap the Chocobo since I don't necessarily want to block with it. Attack. And then now we can go for +1 counters. And this could be close to lethal actually. Yeah, it is just lethal. Since the World Wagons grow with additional lands, and we get 2 +1 counters for each land entering as well. And there we go, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Pretty far from casting Craterhoof, but we have a bit of ramp. And then I won't be able to play Chocobo on 1 actually, with a blue Verge land not making green right away. Yeah, I guess we'll still Portico. And then probably fine to keep another land on top. Could be more picky. look for some 3 or 4 mana plays, since we do have the ramp. Opponent's blue-white. Control is not a great matchup. So now I really want to resolve the World Wagon. I think playing Chocobo makes more sense than just glimpsing. So we actually get a threat in play. Opponent passes. So I could double spell if I want to play around a counter spell a bit better. Go Glimpse plus Elves. Playing Elves alongside Chocobo is pretty weak in the face of Lockdown. So that's where playing World Wagon would maybe make a bit more sense. But they could counter with a No More Lies. So yeah, tricky spot. Either way I can play my land out, that's not going to change. But now we have to decide. I think I go Glimpse plus Elves, because I really don't want the World Wagon getting countered. That resolved instantly. I'll attack first and then play the Elves second main. Alright, maybe they will cast a temporary lockdown now, but then we get to resolve the wagon. Fair enough. Could have maybe held back the Elves. Well, now I guess we just cast Overlord. A bit more impactful. So we are making progress, but we're not going wide to set up Craterhoof. Dragonstorm could mean that they're still on the Omniscience combo deck. And yeah, Repair and Recharge has replaced Abuela's Awakening. But it does mean they may not have a ton of board wipes outside of Lockdown. So then I'm kind of liking Baloth's attack. Immediately make a beast. And we're threatening lethal next turn. No Omniscience in graveyard yet. Opponent's got a stock up. So now their best case scenario is they have like an Ephara's Dispersal to bounce an attacking creature. But it looks like they didn't find it, and there we go. So we get to see this Bant landfall deck in action, and yeah, it's capable of some explosive starts with Sass Chocobo and Llanowar Elves ramping out some of our 3-drops, but it can also win longer games with a card draw from Tatyova and the value we get from the Traveling Chocobo and Felidar Retreat. So it's got most bases covered, but it is still vulnerable to hyper aggro decks or aura decks that go all in on one creature since we're not playing any removal. Opposing graveyard decks can also get us if they're off to a quick start, since we don't have any graveyard hate in the main deck, but that can be easily addressed if we were to play this in best of 3. Can always toss in a Rest in Peace in the sideboard, and that will take care of most graveyard strategies. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.